Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein begins like a lightning bolt to the heart, an operatic blaze of gothic spectacle that announces with absolute conviction that this is the adaptation that audiences have been waiting decades for. Now, in its opening moments, amid the icy desolation of the North Pole, the film plants a flag in the frozen ground and declares its intentions. This will be mythic, muscular and emotionally raw, a resurrection not just of Shelley's story, but of the classical style of Gothic filmmaking itself. It's a promise of grandeur and intimacy fused into one. From that startling opening, Del Toro immediately demonstrates why so many have long considered him the perfect filmmaker to take on this kind of material. He approaches Frankenstein not simply as horror or tragedy or romance, but as a fusion of all three, lovingly stitched together with the same meticulous, almost obsessive care as Victor's own creature. The devotion is evident in every layer of the production. The candlelit hallways, the rain-slicked rooftops, the bruised colour palette that seems to seep emotion, the costumes that breathe period authenticity while still carrying Del Toro's visual handwriting. Now, what distinguishes this adaptation from the crowded graveyard of previous attempts is its ability to be simultaneously faithful and wholly original. Now, several reviewers have noted the film's surprising adherence to Shelley's narrative structure, its shift in perspectives, its philosophical backbone, and its willingness to embrace the novel's tragic heart. Del Toro honours the source without embalming it. He grafts his own thematic concerns onto the story, loneliness, monstrosity as a metaphor, and the yearning for connection, yet never fully abandoning the moral and existential questions that make Frankenstein endure. And then there's the cast. Jacob Elordi's performance as a creature is by near unanimous agreement the soul of the film, towering, broken, tender and terrifying, and impossibly expressive. He delivers a portrayal that reframes the creature not just as a lumbering icon of horror, but as a wounded, wide-eyed, being desperate for love and recognition creature. Reviewers call it career best, heart-aching and astonishing, and they're right. Elordi takes a character often reduced to caricature and re-infuses him with the agony and innocence that Mary Shelley originally wrote about. Now, opposite him, Oscar Isaac's Victor Frankenstein is a different kind of creation, frenzied rather than contemplative, brilliant but morally untethered. Some audiences embrace his feverish, egotistical interpretation. Others wish for a more haunted, introspective Victor. But even critics who disagreed with the portrayal concede that Isaac's energy is magnetic. Scenes pulse with mania and raw ambition. He's a man who believes he can outrun death, and Isaac plays him like somebody already halfway broken by that delusion. Now, Mia Goth, often the moral compass in Del Toro's worlds, brings a chilling resolve and emotional clarity to her role. Her presence grounds the story, counterbalancing its more flamboyant, tragic elements. Several viewers wished her relationship with the creature had been explored further, a missed opportunity in a film so invested in empathy and connection. Now, Christoph Waltz's invented character, Harlander, divides opinion even more. Some see him as unnecessarily narrative detour, others as a character who expands the thematic architecture of that kind of world. Where the film falters with occasional overindulgence and also stretches where the gothic romance overshadows the horror. Now, a few reviewers noted pacing issues in the midsection where the story momentarily loses the propulsive force of its extraordinary opening, and it will be extraordinary when you see it. Others found it a bit Disney-fied, CGI laden or split into two amorphous chapters, lacking coherence in places. This is a film that, like its creature, it bears the marks of its construction. Some stitches are more visible than others. But even harsh critics admit there is something undeniably handcrafted about the entire experience. It is an experience when you watch this film. You can feel the artistry in the set design, the texture of the makeup, the restraint in the special effects, and then the grand theatre of its world building. It's a film that refuses to be disposable. It demands to be felt, and as many insisted, it demands to be seen on the biggest screen possible. Netflix or not, in IMAX, it doesn't matter. It would likely be transcendent. Now, in summary, and above all else, Del Toro manages to excavate the emotional core of Shelley's story, the tragedy of creation abandoned, the pain of a being who never asked to be born, and the hubris of a man who believes he can conquer nature without consequence. When the film stays closeted closet to these ideas, when it leans into its philosophical and psychological roots, it's breathtaking. When it strays, it never fully loses its pulse, but it risks softening the edges of the novel's stark brilliance. Still, even with its imperfections, this Frankenstein stands as a monumental work of Gothic filmmaking. It's a film bursting with passion, ambition and sorrow, and a film that blends horror with romance, tragedy and with spectacle. This film is not just an adaptation, it's Del Toro's personal communion with Shelley, and with a long lineage of cinematic monsters that he's adored in the past. So in final summary, this one gets a 8 out of 10. It's a visually ravishing and emotionally potent, sometimes uneven but undeniably brilliant resurrection of the classic novels. Go and watch it if you haven't already watched it.